This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. There can be only one LASIK center for Sooner Scoop, and that's Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIKs.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, George Stoya here from the Soonerscoop.com studios. A Friday here with, you just wrapped up a press conference with Jenny Baranczyk, a Zoom session up in Spokane. Excuse me, Kelvin Sampson, I'm sorry. Oklahoma taking on UConn tomorrow at 4:30. Saturday.
Yeah, it's actually perfect. I don't know if you saw this. OU Tennessee softball on ESPN.
Or noon, something like that?
I think it's at 2.
2.
And then it leads right into OU UConn on ESPN. So
Very good. Were you pleased with the Elite Eight performances last night? SEC looked pretty dominant until Arkansas
blew it.
They threw up on themselves.
Yes, which is classic Arkansas.
Good win for Texas Tech, though, and Grant McCasland. Obviously, Bob Przybylo going to keep an eye on the transfer portal for the men's basketball side. Obviously, a little bit of weirdness with Kevin Willard. Think he's headed to Villanova, but we shall see. Another set of games coming up tonight, and then obviously the Elite Eight coming up over the weekend. Any big takeaways? I know you wrote about it from Jenny Baranczyk today.
Not really.
You said there wasn't a single question about UConn today?
Yeah, not to Jenny. The players definitely got some, and they talked about, and what I wrote about, you can check it out on Soonerscoop.com, is just how they feel like the SEC has prepared them for a matchup like this, the athleticism of UConn, and also having played a lot of really good guards, in the SEC this year. But they all said, they haven't seen anybody quite like Paige Beckers.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. They're going to need to shoot the ball extremely well if Oklahoma wants to have a chance on Saturday. Great year. Obviously, wrapped everything up. If you want to catch our recap of Aaliyah Chavez's commitment, that was on Tuesday. We have that here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel. But this is a practice report. Let's finish out the week with a little bit of football. Obviously, talked to players on Tuesday, went to practice on Tuesday. It was a good day. I thought, we talked about John Mateer and everything that he had to say. Wanted to get into a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball with PJ Adebawore, as well as Kip Lewis, Grayson Halton, the defensive line group that I know that we've talked about on the Unofficial 40. But before we do that, George, why don't you grab that football behind you? Got the Jordan brand logo on it, and it is the official Oklahoma football. Thanks to our good friends over at Big Game Football Factory, biggameusa.com/Sooners. I saw somebody getting on my ass. That's a backslash, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I looked it up too, and it works.
That's a /, I'm being told.
Whatever, but it works.
It's one of the slashes, all right? biggameusa.com/Sooners if you are so inclined in getting the 2025 official OU Jordan Fly Elite Football. The first time ever a Jordan brand has been on the official logo for Oklahoma. Signature of innovation, performance, and swagger that is hitting the turf at Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium this spring. Obviously, it will be used this fall as well. So if you want to pick up yours today, has the signature maize, crimson, Jumpman, and interlocking OU, the iconic symbol, as we said, of innovation and performance. All you got to do is go to biggameusa.com/Sooners. How about that?
Got it right.
All right. So what?
You got it right.
I got it right. Well, with a little bit of help from Carrie. // Who gives them, That's a little Billy Madison line for you. All right, let's talk PJ Adebawore, because we did talk to him for quite a bit on Tuesday, and certainly seems like a guy, we've talked about his physical appearance, but certainly seems like a guy mentally that is starting to make that turn here in his third year in Norman.
Yeah, and, I wrote about it, the other day, just talking about how PJ could maybe emulate what R. Mason Thomas did a year ago, where maybe it starts to click for him in his third year. And you think back to last year, and I think he only played 119 snaps. He played more snaps as a true freshman than he did a year ago, and a large part of that was he was dealing with injuries, and he talked about that with us on Tuesday night. But I think for him, it's more about how he practices. I know he talked about that, and coming out every single day with a hungrier mindset and an attack mode. So that's what you want to hear from him, because like you said, he certainly is probably the best looking player they have on the roster. And if he can become, a star like a lot of people think he can be, that would be a huge boost for Oklahoma.
I think I declared him maybe one of the most NFL ready looking bodies that Oklahoma's had here in a while. And you would just like that to match up with what he could bring on the defensive side of the football. Obviously, R. Mason's kind of the leader of that group, and it's going to be kind of fun. But a little bit of a longer clip that we usually show you, but I thought this was really good stuff from PJ Adebawore.
I think it's been pretty good. I think I've been stacking days, elevating my game a bit, getting more comfortable every single year. So we're just going to keep on stacking. But overall, it's been good.
Was last year tough for you, just not being able to be 100% healthy out there?
Definitely tough. Anyone who goes through any type of injuries, it's always going to be difficult. Going through it and the aftermath of just trying to bounce back. But the good Lord has me, and I try to just believe in that every single day. So yeah.
You mentioned stacking days.
Yes, sir.
When you went into the spring, what to yourself did you say had to change about your approach to become a guy that could be consistently out there?
I would say my mentality every single time I come on the field, just coming with a mindset of hunger. I'm ready to attack anything, and not really comparing myself, but just being the best me that I can be every single time I come on.
PJ, when you had those tough days last year and trying to get healthy again, who were the most people that encouraged you, or who encouraged you the most during those days, during those tough days?
Sure. I always say teammates uplifting me, family, of course, my coaches. I'm very happy to say that I have a really good support system. So, they were able to uplift me, on days where it definitely was tough not being out there with your guys all the time, and you're still going to celebrate them from the sideline, but, you definitely want to be out there with them as much as possible. But, yeah, I think I have a really good support system, very good foundation. Who were able to, lift me up.
Has there been, coming out of high school so highly ranked, was there a lot of pressure that you had to learn to deal with, and is that kind of something that you've gotten past just as a player?
There is pressure, but I try not to really think about it. At the end of the day, when I got to college, being highly recruited, I knew that either way, I gotta reprove myself. To me, the rankings, I don't want to say it doesn't matter in today's age, but when I get to college, it's just different. You have to. It's a reset. It's a reset. You can't come in there, Yes, you have pressure, but just be you at the end of the day. So that's what I told myself.
How much does just body transformation, in that part of it, help you be more confident as a football player?
Oh, you're just stronger. Stronger, faster. So you can, like I kind of said, you can just hang in with the guys. It's easier to just shadow block. It's easier to get knocked back. Stuff like that.
PJ Adebawore, they're talking to the media on Tuesday, up to 260 now. You would think that, going into this third season, he would be able to maybe even just double his career stat total. 10 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. Obviously, you saw the video of him sacking Davis Bevel in the South Carolina game that a lot of people want to forget this season. Yeah,
look, I think that he's a guy, he's going to have a lot more opportunity this year, if he's healthy, obviously. But you look at that room and you love what you have in R. Mason Thomas. He's not going to come off the field often. But on the other side, there's opportunity. You love getting Marvin Jones Jr., and he's a veteran guy that's probably going to play quite a bit. But after that, PJ's got a great chance. And I love his mindset, Eddie, because there was so much hype around him, coming out of high school, and rightfully so. You look at the body type and all of that. But I remember Josh telling us, this guy's really raw, and it might take some time for him to develop. And you watch him in drills out at practice, and it's hard to tell, right, until we see him in a full game setting. But it seems to be clicking for him a little bit more, whereas, a year ago or 2 years ago, maybe he had to go through drills a few times. Now it's one time through. He's doing it right, all of those little things. And then the size that he's been able to put on, you love that, and that's a guy that can play for you a lot in the SEC.
You like what you have on the outside, right? You move inside, and it's a bunch of veteran guys. And we talked to Grayson Halton, who kind of turned that quarter, like what I think a lot of people want PJ to do this season. You saw that last year. You see a little bit more leadership from Grayson, somebody that usually I think has kind of been known as a little bit of the jokester in the room, but certainly more serious as he steps into a bigger role alongside Dom Williams, David Stone, obviously, Jaden Jackson coming off of a freshman All-American season.
You see a lot of guys in this defense, when they get to year 3 under Brent Venables, it clicks for them all of a sudden. Grayson Halton
was one. Peyton Bowen talked about the same thing with us right before the start of spring this year.
Even you look at Billy Bowman and Danny Stutzman, that's when they kind of really came on as star players for Oklahoma. It was their 3rd season under Brent Venables. So Grayson, you saw that last year, his 3rd year. We'd seen flashes, but then last year he really turned it on. I mean, he was arguably one of their best pass rushers behind R. Mason Thomas, and especially on the interior, he was their best pass rusher. So you love that. And then for him to come back this year, I think he's a guy that we didn't talk about it much. He could have gone to the NFL draft, and I think he probably would have tested well. Probably would have been a late draft pick, I would assume. But he's coming back, and I think that having that presence, a guy that's now he's in his 4th year, I think that's huge because, like you said, you have some veterans in there,
right?
But Grayson is definitely the oldest guy, the guy that's been around the most, and I think you need that when you talk about having some younger guys like a David Stone. I know Jaden Jackson played a ton for Oklahoma a year ago, but still having Grayson, be that 4th-year senior, I think is huge.
All things considered, Jaden Jackson, it feels like he's been here for 5 years. He's played, 12, 13 games a year
I think he played the most snaps, though, for Oklahoma at defensive tackle last year, which is crazy.
He's going to be incredible. This is about Grayson Halton, though. We did talk to him about the leadership in the room and the interior defensive line, as well as his thoughts. I know, George, you asked him about David Stone, and here is Grayson Halton.
Yeah, just, like you said, I've been through it before. So just taking it day by day, really just getting better on the things I need to, knowing what I need to get better at and just taking it and applying it on the field.
You mentioned knowing what you need to get better at. What are you really focusing on?
The run game, just staying in those double teams, things that I watched film on myself last year, things I feel like I need to get better at.
Grayson, what have you made of David Stone and maybe the progress that he's made, now in his 2nd year?
Yeah, he's getting better every day. Just like me, watching what he needs to do better from last year, whether it was in practice, just taking it day by day with him is just learning and applying it on the field.
What do you think of this group as a whole? How good can this defensive tackle group be?
We can be very good, just staying dedicated, being determined, being in the playbook, knowing what to do and making those plays when it's time to.
I think it's that you've got so many guys back from a year ago, just to have that continuity.
Yeah, it's great to have that experience, you know what I'm saying? Guys that know what to do, those guys can coach up the younger guys. So when we're not here, those younger guys that got coached by us, can take it to another level and do it with the next generation.
Is there a chemistry element to that too? Just, you guys going through all of last year, knowing what to expect, that type of thing?
Yeah, feel like we got a chip on our shoulders, you know what I'm saying? We just going to work every practice, and just taking it day by day.
Grayson Halton was something of a career year a year ago with 11 tackles, had 3.5 tackles for loss, which, he's still searching for that first sack credited, which is a little bit surprising.
I thought he had one last year.
It says 0-0 for 2022 and 2023.
He was living in the backfield, though.
I thought he did. I thought he did as well. I would have I was going to say I was going to peg Grayson as somebody that was going to break out, but I know that would be clipped, and it probably already is. Very much a hashtag pause. But you like that group in the interior, and maybe even somebody like a Nigel Smith, who we had talked about on the unofficial 40 this week. Body style wise, that group has completely transformed itself.
Well, we talk all the time about Grayson coming back and Dominic Williams getting him to come back, Jaden Jackson and David Stone, and those are kind of your 4 core guys. But we've heard a lot about Nigel Smith, moving inside and kind of what he can maybe bring as a pass rusher. Marcus Strong looks incredible out there.
He's always somebody that sticks out when we go to some of these open viewings. It's like, okay, what? Yeah, and I remember Marcus Strong.
Is he in his 3rd year, 4th year?
I think it would be his 3rd, yeah.
So, again, another 3rd-year guy. Maybe it clicks for him finally. And then, you have Trent Wilson. And I asked Grayson about Trent Wilson, too, and he raved about him. And, maybe that's somebody, he has the size, certainly, to come in and compete.
100%.
Can he get down the mental part of it? So,
and it's not really an intimidation factor because he has that for sure.
I certainly think this is the best interior defensive line Oklahoma's had in terms of depth in a long time. They've had some talented guys come through, whether that's a Neville Gallimore, who was a great player still playing in the NFL. Perion Winfrey was somebody that played a lot. Jordan Phillips, over a decade ago now. I think he's still playing in the NFL. But in terms of top to bottom, talent-wise and depth, It's a pretty good group that Todd Bates has got.
Marcus Strong, officially in his third year, redshirt sophomore, though, in your program. Somebody else that's been around the block a time or two, Kip Lewis, obviously moving into a little bit more of a leadership role. He talked to us about Nate Dreiling and just kind of his first impressions going through the first 5, 6, now 7 practices, I guess, after Thursday's practice. But you expect him to be another one of those guys that kind of takes that next step and moves and tries to almost kind of replace somebody like a Danny Stutzman this season.
His expectations are so high because you think back 2 years ago, we saw some of the flashes. He started playing quite a bit at the end of that 2023 season. I think he had a really good bowl game, against who did they play in the bowl game? Why am I blanking on the Alamo Bowl?
Down in the Alamo Bowl, Arizona?
Arizona. Yeah, I don't know why I was blanking on that. I was thinking Auburn for a second.
I wanted to say Oregon. And that was 4 years ago.
But he had a good game then, and then you saw him last year. He was just fantastic for Oklahoma. Obviously, he had some of the biggest plays of the season, the pick sixes against Auburn and Alabama. But I think that there's still some consistency things that he needs to get better at, and you love the instincts of him. But I think it's so huge having him and Kobe McKenzie in that linebacker room because it's another group that you like the older guys, but you haven't seen as much from some of the young guys like a Samuel Masigo who's flashed at times, Taylor Heim who we've heard a ton about. You bring in Kendall Daniels, you have some young guys, but to have somebody like Kip Lewis who's now played a lot of football, I think is really good for that group.
Certainly one of the bigger voices in that linebacker room. He talked about Nate Dreiling as well as Taylor Heim, who is really turning heads this spring. Second-year guy out of Bethany, as well as Kendall Daniels out of Beggs via Oklahoma State.
It's been really great. He has a different viewpoint, which I like coaching like linebackers, and so it's been really good.
What is the biggest difference you've seen with him?
Technique-wise and stuff, and just hands, and it's just a lot of technique stuff that's a little bit different, but I like it though.
He seems pretty enthusiastic as well.
Yeah, he's definitely, he'll remind you that he's from Pitt State, and so he reminds us that he is like one of the best linebackers from Pitt State, so he is very enthusiastic. T. Heim, I knew he was going to be really special, just looking at him as he been going through his journey here, and I just love to see him as he's been gaining and building confidence throughout the years he's been here, and so it's been really good to see.
Initial impressions of Kendall Daniels?
Dude's a baller. We watched tape of Oklahoma State a couple of years ago, and we was like, who was this 5 player on there? And it was him, and so we was like, we already knew he was going to be a player, and so he's just living up to what we thought.
The pride of Carthage, Texas there. Kip Lewis, excited for his season to come because I do think you look at that group and you add into Kendall Daniels, and if they can get something from a Taylor Heim, it's a pretty damn good group that they got there.
Yeah, I think Kip Lewis is going to be OU's leading tackler next season. It's been Danny Stutzman, I think, the last 3 years.
It's crazy.
I think it's going to be Kip this year.
It's not crazy that you would say Kip either.
No, I think that's certainly, he's the clear front
He's just
runner.
one of those guys that seems like over the first couple of years that we've watched him, that he's just always around the football. He finds a way to find the football.
And I just don't know how you take him off the field.
Yeah.
Like, he's such a difference maker, makes big plays, and look, he's going to make mistakes here and there because I think sometimes he lets his instincts just take over, which is what you want in your linebacker. But you live with those because he's also going to make some big-time plays.
And not to make just a flat-out comparison, but I remember back to what Jaron Kanik was talking about, why he made the move from linebacker to tight end.
Yep.
Some guys have that tick
Kip
that they're
does.
able to go find the football and react.
Yeah, and you just love his energy too.
Yeah.
Like, he's always, no matter what the score is, he's always super energetic, fired up on the sideline, and I think you kind of need that too, especially to go with somebody like Kobe McKenzie, who's very
a little bit more
subdued.
reserved.
Yes,
yeah, for sure. Excited about the linebacker group. Last but not least, somebody that we don't think will be leaving the field too often. Obviously, we talked about John Mateer on Tuesday. I guess that was on Wednesday's show, just wrapping up everything that he talked about. But he did get out over the course of spring break, worked with some of the wide receivers, Giovanni Gibson, as well as Deion Burks down in the DFW area.
Yeah, they were working with a trainer, Delfonte Diamond.
He's a hell of a name.
Yes, hell of a name. He works with a lot of NFL wide receivers, very well-respected personal trainer, and it sounds like Giovanni and Dion had gone together down there to work out for a few days with him. And then John was on his way down to Houston for the Houston Rodeo.
Yeah, I wonder if he went to the Brooks and Dunn concert. We need to ask him.
But John Mateer definitely fits in at a rodeo with that West Texas accent. But I guess he stopped on his way down there, threw some with those two guys, and we've also heard about him throwing with Isaiah Satania. It certainly feels like those three right now are kind of the leaders, and it also is a good sign too. I know there's been talk about Deion Burks being a little nicked up during practice. I mean, he was full go down there throwing the ball with John Mateer. I think he's fine, but you love to have that out of your quarterback, spending that extra time and kind of building that chemistry with those guys.
Certainly saying all the right things. Here is John Mateer on Tuesday talking about the developing rapport that he has with his wide receivers.
First of all, they're very, very funny people. I don't know how much time you've been able to be around them, but there's a lot of good character on this team, and just being around them and knowing that they're willing to work. I was actually driving down to Houston. I was going to the Houston Rodeo. It was fun. Like, I had a great time, and it worked out great. I drove down there, and they were working out, and I was like, yeah, like, why not? Got to throw the ball around with them a little bit, and I miss those guys, man, a couple days away. No, I'm just kidding. But it was good. I had a great break, and they did too, and Dion looks good, and Giovanni, we're all good friends, and we talk ball and play ball. It's fun.
What's especially stood out about Giovanni?
His size. He's real strong, and his attitude. Like, he's been taking a lot of reps, and he's been doing good. He hasn't complained. Like, see him on a knee here and there, I'm like, dude, are you tired? Like, yeah, he's tired. It's okay. But he's doing a great job, and we're building a good connection.
Maybe give Giovanni a break.
It's a good spot to end on for the week. If you want to dream of John Mateer finding Giovanni Gibson and a Heisman and a Biletnikoff next year. It does sound positive, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
great. Only so much you can take out of these spring practices, but everything that we've heard, it seems like this wide receiver group, maybe there is going to be something better than you were a year ago. I mean, my God.
Yeah, it sounds like, too, on Tuesday and Thursday, the offense had pretty good days. I think that they're starting to click, and the names that continue to come up are Giovanni Gibson and Isaiah Satania.
I was going to say, it seems like Satania particularly is somebody that, obviously coming in from Arkansas, you didn't really know what you were going to get, but maybe he's going to be a guy that maybe bursts onto the scene like an Andrell Anthony did 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I think that, when you think of Ben Arbuckle and the offense that he runs, I think he's going to find a way to get both Satania and Burks on the field. They both play the slot, but I think that he'll be creative in getting both those guys out there as well as Giovanni Gibson. And you have two speedsters like Burks and Satania and a big-bodied guy like Giovanni Gibson out there. That could be a lethal group. We'll have to see. I don't want to get the expectations too high, the hype too big.
Everybody's been so hurt by what happened a year ago. I think, like, mentally, that it's tough to sit here and say, yeah, this is going to be a great group, because we obviously saw how the other side of the coin can be.
Yeah, and last year I will say, I don't remember talking a lot about like, oh, well, this guy's doing great in practice, or like the offense is really doing this. So to hear some of those things, I think is good to hear. I did want to ask, Eddie, have you ever been to the rodeo?
Yeah, I have actually. Not to the Houston rodeo. My sister's on the Houston rodeo committee, though.
Oh, really?
My parents go every year.
Oh, I'm surprised they weren't down there.
Well, they have badass concerts the entire time.
Yeah.
I think I want to say my sister went to the Brooks and Dunn one, but I can't remember what the one was. Oh, George Strait. George Strait a year ago.
Wow.
It was awesome. My dad loved it.
Yeah.
It's the Houston rodeo. There was a bull that got loose. Did you see the video of it this past year?
I did not see that.
Oh. You're from the city of Tulsa. There's probably not too much.
I've been to the rodeo, though.
Which one?
Well, there was one out in Colorado Springs when I lived out there for a little bit.
Okay, yeah,
it's cool.
That counts. That counts. Not so much the rodeo type. I'll wear some boots and I'll fake cowboy it, but not so much. Yeah. All right. For George Stoya, I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll see you back here next week on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.